I think we should start with a 2 minute silence in the market. Doesn't it feel like? Yes, because of the carnage the markets have shown in the last 2 to 3 weeks specifically. It's good to be back again on YouTube Live. Hi everyone, this is Kunal Bothra. And looking at the way the markets have structured in the last 2 weeks, it's nothing less than a excruciating pain for the markets. I'm sure you guys, did miss me in the last 8 9 days, but apologies for not conducting the YouTube live because I was a lot more hectic. I was traveling quite extensively, and plus there was a couple of family emergencies. But fortunately, everything is fine now, and I'm back to Mumbai. So we are back again with the YouTube live, and of course, with me being back, fortunately, it's the bulls which are also trying to make a comeback again, right? So today, for example, you saw the mid caps and small caps and large caps at least showing some signs of recovery and semblance of markets, coming back into some bit of stable territory. We expect that this may not be a one-off, and this could probably be leading towards a point where the markets may see a lot more follow through on the upside. Today's discussion is where I think we left off 9 10 days back. Where we were discussing that there is an interesting sector which I believe and I strongly believe is at the cusp of a major turnaround or a point where indicators, price, the technical aspects are extremely oversold. So I'll actually start off with the index view specifically, and very quickly I'll move on to that part where I left off in the previous discussion where I was mentioning that there's this very interesting chart and the sector which is I believe going to be an impactful sector over the medium to long term. But like what we do every time before we start our YouTube live and the discussion, and I show the charts, etc., for all of you guys, a sincere request to everyone to ensure that you do like, do share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you have not, and of course click onto that notification button. Hi everyone, Atin Agarwal, S Trend for Investors. I think if I'm not wrong, that's you, Aftab. Rahul Sharma, Y Ramakrishnan, Manohar Deandayalu, Alice, Usha, Nitin Patil. Hello everyone. So before we kickstart the YouTube live, I'll start off with the screen sharing part where I try and showcase that what it's currently. Okay, so today's discussion, what we'll be having is on multifaceted topics or the pointers which we have covered. The first, of course, is the market setup or the current market setup for the index. Then we look at the market technicals, where I believe the technical setup is for the index. What's interesting about the charts, the levels on the indices, where I would believe that the index levels is come back towards a very interesting uh, I would say a very fruitful point in terms of the market levels, the sector trends, and specifically the sector which I believe could be at an interesting cusp of a turnaround. And then, if in case there are any kind of a stock queries which you guys have, or something which I would probably throw in as an offset idea to all of you guys to maybe look at in terms of the technical chart structures. Okay, I hope you guys can see the presentation, right? Or the screen sharing part. Brilliant, cool. So the first part which we'll be discussing is like what we discussed in the previous YouTube live, the P of the index. Like in the last many corrections, the lows for the index, there have been points where the Nifty P falls below the 20 mark. We are almost at 19.67 or 19.7, I think, on the Nifty trailing P. That tells you that we are very close towards the valuation wise bottom for the index. Now, I understand that to try and pinpoint an exact bottom becomes very difficult, very tricky in this kind of a market because we are at a point where there is a forceful selling or liquidity pressure which is happening on the index. And when you see such kind of a liquidity driven selling or a sell off, there is generally not a technical support or a floor which we give it to the indices. But there are points on the index where you have to start to understand and respect that the markets become extremely oversold. Now, if you go back to 2020 also, COVID का भी sell off था जहाँ पे everyone was panicking, right? The markets were panicking. There was news flow which was extremely negative. Global markets were into a selling spree. There were, I think, different things which were happening. Crude had gone down to as much as like sub-zero levels. Then there was sell-off across various asset classes, which is happening at that point of time. So in every scenario of panic or corrections, logic generally gets thrown out, right? That's a natural part, and that's why we call it as panic. Because अगर panic structured होता तो वो correction होता, but अगर panic होता है, that is why it is not structured. But it's always important to understand that in every scenarios when the markets correct or there is a stage of panic, there are bound to be factors which will throw a lot of objectivity to you. Today on the YouTube live, we'll be discussing those objective points. The first one, of course, is the Nifty trailing PE. Now, I'm sure all of you guys are now starting to look at the Nifty trailing PE and trying to compare the historical scenarios. This doesn't tell you that the markets will bottom exactly at that 19 PE, but this tells you a point that the markets are deeply oversold. So that valuation comfort जो fundamental parameters में था, जो नहीं था, that valuation comfort will start to come in. Okay, the fact that we are at the sub 20 PE for the Nifty, that's a very important trigger. Historical major bottoms have happened in this zone. I'm not saying the exact level where the Nifty bottom can happen, but at these zones, major bottoms they tend to occur when the Nifty trailing PE falls below the 20 mark. That again, I'll reiterate the point that it's not necessarily that if the trailing P's are 19.3, 19.7, 19.6, that the markets will bottom. But yeah, I think we would now be in a process where the markets would slowly and steadily start to structure a bottom for itself. Then comes the second part. If you remember in our previous YouTube lives, I think on 13th of Feb or 15th of Feb, the YouTube live, I mentioned that gold is at a point where we are at at least a near short-term major top on the gold charts. We were almost at 2900, 27, 29, 20, 29, 30 on the dollar prices for gold. Now we are almost on the verge of trying to come towards 2800 mark. So after touching 2950, gold prices have retraced from 87,000, I think, plus on the rupee terms. We are almost at 84,000, 84,200 mark. So that gives you a sense that gold prices, this is the chart patterns which we looked out for on gold charts, that we were at a point where the gold prices are nearing a turnaround or a topping formation. Now, is this a major top? I would not suggest that it's a major top, but yeah, this is a correction at play. My expectation is that once this trend line, as you can see, this lower trend line, this blue support trend line, once this trend line moves up higher and we reach towards a point, say closer to this mark, 2750 levels thereabout. So mota moti, if in case gold on dollar terms falls by say another $100, comes closer to 2750 mark, and in case if there is no major data point which is negative for gold, I would believe that the prices for gold should start to stabilize over here, and we may be at a point where the risk reward would start to look very attractive for contra gold traders. So just remember this chart. Over the last 1 year, we have been adhering to the resistance. You can see this resistance trend line multiple times, and whenever the gold prices have gone through a correction, if it's not an immediate correction, वो eventually ये trend line पे आके उसका एक major cycle जो है वो reverse हो जाता है. So my assumption is that if in case in the next say 1 or 2 weeks you see some more sell off on gold prices, if I can extrapolate this trend line, this blue trend line moving up higher, say closer to 2750 mark, mota moti, we should form a major support on the gold prices. That's where I would believe that as a contra trader, you guys should start to uh, be a bit contra on gold prices. Now comes the second part. Okay, hi Papaya Sastri, good to see you back. Thank you so much. Hi Bhavini Vora. Yes, gold will correct. I did mention it. Hi Deepak. Hi Nishi Gupta, Sunil Babu. Good. Ashok Nyadish. Wow, so many guys joining. So this is the Nifty chart. Okay, now interestingly, what's happened is Nifty today bounced almost exactly from that 22,000 mark, which is the support level. If you remember in one of our discussions, I had mentioned that agar index bounce karta hai, my probability was that the markets would bounce off just to that 23,200 mark, but we failed to cross 23,100 for the index, and from there we sold off. 22,000 remains to be now the second leg of major support. Now there is an interesting thing which is happening is that at 22,000 mark, the indicators have started to come into an oversold territory. So I don't know if you can see this chart over here, the RSIs for the index. Now I'll draw a simple straight line over here. The RSI for the Nifty is coming towards an oversold territory. So this is the RSI on the Nifty, correct? Now let's compare this to the previous RSIs. I will, ignore the COVID kind of a sell-off, but then the historical scenarios prior to that, correct? Even in this leg of sell-offs, for example, even in the COVID part, you can see this. There was a point over here where the index respected this lower band in terms of the RSI level, and from there we saw a bounce. Now over here also we saw a formidable bounce. This was like a 11,036 का low था और 11,400 का high था. So almost like a 3% kind of a bounce on the index. If you go back a bit, you can see this scenario. Here also, the Nifty formed a low in terms of the RSI hitting the zones of 20s. And then for the next 3, 4, 5 days, we see a reasonable bounce. Reasonable, matlab almost 3% ka bounce on the index. And like that, we've seen multiple times, right? 2022, I think this is, 2018, sorry. This is again the Nifty forming a low on the RSI, and then in the subsequent next 3 to 5 days we see the index going into a process of a bounce multiple times, right? I will ignore the COVID sell-off, COVID specifically, because that was a time of extreme panic and a rational based index selling which happened, right? Okay, so this is the scenario. Why am I pointing this out today? Because as we speak right now, the index today, which it formed a low, we touched that low in terms of RSI, which is around 2025 in this scale on the RSI chart for the index, which means that from here on, we are looking at least a 2% to 3% kind of a bounce. So which means 22,000 approximately is the low. If you are looking at a 3% bounce, we are looking at least a 600-point rally for the index. Let's look at the other part of the Nifty chart. This is the Nifty plain price chart. I'll just zoom this portion. This is the Nifty plain price chart. Okay. You can see this. This is the Nifty plain price chart. So this also indicates that there have been two gaps which are created on the Nifty. You can see the first gap. So generally it is said that in a downtrend over here. Oh, I guess you guys were not able to see the Nifty. I'll show the Nifty ka RSI chart. Don't worry, I'll show it again. In this leg of downtrend, since the time we last did the YouTube live, that was I think around 21st or 22nd of Feb. From here till here, in the last 8-9 days, we've seen the index showing two gap downs. Now on the way up, when the markets could likely bounce back, these two gap downs should act as major. These two gap downs should act as major resistance point. So if you see a rationale that in the last many attempts when the index has seen a bounce, okay, in the last many attempts, as you can see that the index adhered to the RSI levels, we bounced 3% on an average, which means from here, I strongly believe so, okay, that we should be looking at least a 3% kind of a bounce, which means 22,600 ये पहला resistance or 22,800 ये second resistance. These two gaps on the indices is where the index should take resistance, which means we should be in the process of a bounce on the index over the next 3 to 5 trading days. In the next 5 days, you will see at least a 300 to 500 point bounce on the Nifty. What also corroborates this view, you can see this chart on the Bank Nifty, triple bottom on the banking index, triple bottom. First at 47,900, the second at 47,850, and the third, which was made today, 47,840 on the Nifty. Correct? Understood? So again over here, banking index showing signs of a triple bottom over here. Let's go back. When the last time Bank Nifty showed a triple bottom, sort of a support over here, you can see this triple bottom sort of a support. We saw a fantastic bounce on the banking index. Now we may see such kind of a bounce, but then that maybe over the next 3 to 5 days, once we see the bounce, the quality of stocks moving up higher, that will help us determine that how much can the index bounce up from that key support level. As of now, my belief is that यहाँ पे भी अगर हम 3 to 4% add करेंगे, तो from 48,000 levels approximately, we are looking at say a process of 1500 to 1800 points kind of a bounce on the index, which means 49,500 से 49,800 ये जो जोन है, यहाँ पे आके हम थोड़ा सा, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि शायद हम स्टॉल कर जाएंगे. And if you see this level, historically this has been a major support point earlier. You can see this support, third support, fourth support. You can see this. Then there was a bounce. Then the support got breached. Then we tested this support line again, which became a resistance. So now on the way up, we should be taking a major resistance at 49,800 mark. Okay, that's the third important portion in terms of technicals. Now I told you about the sector chart, which is looking absolutely fabulous. Now there were many answers. Few of the answers were right. I did like the comments on the YouTube, but the chart, which I believe is at the cusp, and you will see for yourself that how the charts are placed, is the Nifty Energy Index. Can you see this? This is a Nifty Energy Index on the charts. Now over here, as you can see, that the Nifty Energy Index is at a major trendline support. What's all the more interesting is the lows which the index is making in terms of indicators, very, very similar to the lows the index has been making previously. Correct? Now you can see this. I will draw a simple resistance line. You can see this resistance line. This resistance is now likely to act as a support for the energy index, which means now I will show a chart. Now again, the point is, it's an analysis which you can think or you can probably consider doing all the due diligence from your side. This is the charts for which stock? NTPC. I will answer all the queries. Don't worry, guys. I will answer all the queries. This is the chart for NTPC, right? See what's happening. Double support at 300, a higher bottom. Look at the jump in RSI. Price ने ये level तोड़ा भी नहीं है, but RSI ने ये level तोड़ भी दिया. आप समझ रहे हो क्या हो रहा है? Prices have not yet breached this level for the stock, but RSI has actually jumped higher, which means the price will eventually follow what the RSI is trying to indicate. Okay, it could be a matter of time. As I said, that things don't play out in like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day exactly. There are times it takes weeks. There are times it may take even a month to shape up. But then when you see such strong conviction charts, it tries to tell you that stock prices, if you try and see the patterns clearly, there are trends which you can ride very, very clearly in these kind of names. So this tells me at least now, whether it gets inferred to you or not. I mean, I would request due diligence from your side, but this tells me that prices have started to factor in the positivity much in advance, and the indicators are supporting or complementing this fact, which means eventually the prices have to break past above this level, have to break past above this level. You remember I did a study on relative strength. We did a study on the sectors and the stocks which have been relatively strong, like financials. Then we pointed out metals. Correct? I hope you guys remember. If not, you can just go back to our previous YouTube live. My expectation is this sector, maybe this stock, maybe not. This sector is now likely to get into a revival phase. I'll show one more chart over here. One, two, three. Three lows on the stock. Three lows on the stock. Correct? And three higher lows on the RSI. Three higher lows on the RSI. What do you call this? Guys who follow technical analysis, come on. क्या होता है ये? When stock forms three subsequent lows, but the RSI is very adamant and very stubborn. RSI says, मैं झुकूंगा नहीं. Right? RSI says that I will keep making higher lows. The moment the RSI is continuously making higher lows, it gives you a very strong sense that eventually prices will start to reverse. Do you panic in such scenarios? Of course not. You don't panic even though the prices are falling, because eventually when the RSI corrects itself and when the RSI leads, the prices have to go into a sharp adjustment. Triple divergence, absolutely yes, bang on from everyone. Triple divergence, rare hota hai aise charts, rare, right? Maybe I can if I have historical context, maybe I can show some historical charts, but triple divergences are very rare on the charts. Maybe I think let's see something of this sort. You can see this, something of this. Price making a new low, RSI making a higher low. है ना? क्या होता है इसके बाद में? As I said that sometimes it may takes week, it may take weeks, sometimes it may takes month. इसके बाद देखो क्या हुआ. Eventually, in the next 6 to 12 months, the stock went into a different spike and a rally altogether. Oops, the battery is not connected. Don't worry. But I hope you like this part, right? I hope you're liking this part, correct? So, again, the RSI charts over here are suggesting that we are into a triple divergence mode on the charts for ONGC. And if you sum total this to the chart, it's possible that the Nifty Energy Index is at an absolutely amazing level in terms of prices. Correct? Yeah. So we discussed the Nifty charts, we discussed the setup on stocks, we discussed the setup on that interesting sector, like what we do. And there is an interesting setup also happening over here on the India VIX. You see, the India VIX has started to cool off. Okay, which means when India VIX starts to cool off, you will eventually see low volume selling, which happens. Another data point, which I'm sure in fact, in the morning I discussed this on ET now, but another data point is 90 to 92% of the stocks are now trading below their 50, 20, 100-day moving averages. 90 to 92% of the stocks in the mid cap and the small cap 50 index are trading sub their key moving averages. That is also an indication that we are at a point where things are at an extreme. Okay, cool. Now I'm ready to take questions outside. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Okay, first let me say a hi to everyone. I left off at Papaya Shastri. Rajashri Dhar, hi. Shashank, gold and equities are inversely proportional, so it means bounce might be temporary. Can we infer that? You can say so, but what happens is in the last many years we've seen that the correlation and the anti-correlation has been broken for both these asset classes. Like there was a point where gold corrected in 2020 and then it bounced back. Like in this leg, gold rallied up higher. We moved up higher till 2024 September. Gold was at 80,000 plus levels. We also made a high. So it depends on the scenarios which gets built up, Sasank. In case the only data point which I'm actually worried of, and if in case that happens, would be if the US markets show any kind of a recessionary signal. What's happening is that the Nifty IT index has started to correct, right? The Nifty IT index, that's the first indication that the pain should now trickle back into the US indices. That's where my bigger worry is, that if in case there is any kind of a recessionary signal, which the markets are not talking of right now, but if in case that happens, that could be the only point where gold as an asset class may outperform and equities as an asset class may underperform broadly. Okay. So Shastri says, based on the analysis, it will touch 21,700 bear testing, as you mentioned the previous analysis. Yep, let's hope. Let's hope so. Nishi Gupta says, will it sustain? I'm not sure what exactly you were asking about, Nishi. So if you can probably re-ask your queries. Kunal, please see the charts for Wokhard. Is the correction over? Fresh entry? I have not seen Wokhard Pharma since quite a long time. But apparently it's been one of the better performing names. Now I can't give a recommendation as such on Wokhard Pharma, but I think it's the first quarter of selling which you're seeing for Wokhard Pharma. I would suggest to just about stay away a bit, at least for another 1 or 2 quarters, because ये first major correction है. Volumes are started to pick up in this correction, and especially in the last 1 or 2 weeks. Give it some more time, because if in case I go by the previous quarterly charts, whenever after like 5-6 straight quarters the stock has corrected, it's the correction has lasted for at least 3-4 quarters further for the stock. So you may see a bounce back. There could be a bounce back to 1300, 1400 mark, but a major bottom is still not in place. That's what the charts are indicating as of now. Atin Agarwal is asking for view on BSE. Now, why does this happen that the yesteryears, the performance of the yesteryears or the darlings of the previous year, they continue to be darlings of the current year? Please understand that when markets change, the structures change, leaders change. So just be a bit careful. BSE has broken a major support of 5,000 mark, and I think 5,000 and 6,000 का एक 1,000 point का range था. Wouldn't be surprised if the stock actually touches even 4,000 levels over the very near term. So just be a bit careful. Uh, okay. Hi, Akhil Balwant. Oh, Akhil Balwant. Hi, nice to see you, Akhil. Nishi Gupta is asking view about SBI, Titan, Reliance, and Nestle. I'll pick and choose maybe just one out of them. I'll pick and choose maybe Titan. I'll take the more relatively easier ones. Titan, so far, according to me, I would believe that it's on a major support of 3,000 levels. If you look at the last 1.5 year of chart, 3,000 से वो 3 या 4 बार stock ने bottom बना के reverse किया. If you are looking at a buy on Titan, I would suggest keep maybe a daily or a weekly closing stop loss of 3,000. Whenever the stock crosses or closes below the 3,000 mark, and if it gets confirmed on weekly basis, I think that could be time that maybe the stock would have reversed the trends. Okay, so we'll come to the recent queries. Rajesh Dhar, what's your view on Bajaj Housing Finance? Bajaj Housing Finance, I think it's the same stock which is now at 109, 110 levels. Again, chart history is very limited. I won't be able to predict, frankly, long term. But somehow it looks like that around this 100 mark, there are more buyers than more sellers for Bajaj Housing Finance. So that probably gives a sense that maybe this 100 as a support level should hold on. Okay. Shashank is asking, what's your view on chemical sectors, companies like Aarti? What is your outlook? Now, I actually uh, believe that stocks like Aarti Industries could probably have formed a major bottom. Now, price wise, kya hua? When the stock hit 400, bounced off to 470, 460. Okay, there was a very steady, steep bounce into Aarti Industries. Volumes were very high. Last 1 month, when the stock has sold off from 460 levels to now 360, 370, where it's made a low for Aarti Industries, what's happened is that the volumes have dropped down. So, the point which I was making, when IVs drop down, there is a low volume selling which happens. Low volume selling is generally a strong confirmation that a near to medium term bottom could be in place. Again, very difficult to pinpoint what is the exact support level the stock would hold on to. But then we look out for candlestick patterns. हम hammer देखते हैं, we look at morning star, we look at bullish engulfings and all of those kind of patterns. आरती इंडस्ट्रीज में आज का पैटर्न देख के ऐसा लग रहा है कि एक हैमर इन प्लेस है. So which means that 360 364 could be a good support in place for Aarti Industries. So that would sum up total and indicate that my view is starting to become a lot more positive from here for many of these chemical names, including Aarti Industries. Deepak Chabria says USD INR and DXY started to fall. Yes, exactly. So we discussed USD INR also. That was, I think, around 2 weeks back, 2 or 3 weeks back, that the USD INR pair is hitting some sort of an overbought territory, and we are likely to see a reversal. Let's hope that the reversal happens very fast, very steeply for the USD INR pair. Satya Prakash, RVNL is at 320 levels. Good time to accumulate for next 1 2 years. Avoid RVNL. Concentrate over the next. See, guys, this is an opportunity for this fall. Is an opportunity for all of you guys. आप अगर यहाँ पे आप ट्रेडिंग करोगे 2-5% के लिए, तो देन आई मीन ऑफ कोर्स इट्स अ प्ले विच यू कैन डू. आई डोंट डिनाई दैट, बट देन लुक एट दिस एज अ क्लासिकल पोर्टफोलियो बिल्डिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी. When do you see corrections like COVID 2008, 2015, 16, and 2022, and maybe current levels of 2025? You don't see these sharp sell-offs which happens into stock prices. Start building your portfolio. Look at formidable stocks. Put some eyes and ears on the news flow which is coming into stock prices, the earnings which is coming by, the quality of buying selling which happens into stock prices, relative strength. Look at all of those factors and then start to buy those stocks. Don't buy the stocks just because they've fallen and they were the heroes of the yesterday's market rally. So just have this very simple commonsensical approach towards market to start building your portfolio and try and take this as an advantage rather than looking at short-term trading opportunities over here. Stocks, for example, I pointed the energy index. I pointed few stocks on the energy index. Now, those are not stocks which you trade for like 2% and 3%. You can do that, but it tells you that when your back is behind the wall, that's the best time to start going into a contra mode. Yes, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be painful. The last pain is excruciating, it's more difficult to withstand. But hey, the rewards for such kind of investors who hold their nerve in these kind of times is supremely rewarding. तेजी में हर किसी को तेजी दिखेगी. 26,000 निफ्टी पे आपको 30,000 भी आएगा, 35,000 भी आएगा टारगेट. और आज जब 22,000 हो गया इंडेक्स, यू विल गेट calls of 20,000, 18,000. I mean, my employee was actually telling me that she heard about someone saying the index levels target of 16,000 and 14,000 on the Nifty over the near term. Now, the point is not being right or wrong. The point is, in times of panic, every single data point which you will see, you will hear, will make you get that trigger of panic. But it's the it comes with years of experience. Trust me, with decades of experience, that all of this will pass. बोलते हैं ना, this too shall pass. Euphorias pass and corrections also pass. So all you have to do is just try and use the opportunities to your advantage. Build portfolios, Look at formidable large cap names. Don't waste opportunity in these kind of market scenarios. That's my only word of advice which I can throw in with the years of experience which I have. Because बाद में क्या होगा, after 2 years 3 years once the markets, I'm not maybe much before than that, but जब 6 महीने साल भर मार्केट के बाद में मार्केट जब वो रिकवरी करना चालू करेगा या when रैली करना चालू करेगा, we will always repent that काश we would have try and capitalize this opportunity to the best of our advantage. uh, yeah, HAL, Anurag is asking question, will HAL follow the RSI divergence which you mentioned? I had full hopes on HAL that it followed the RSI divergence. It should follow the RSI divergence, but it's not happening. But that's the advantages or disadvantages of being contra before or before the major bottom gets signaled or triggered. So that divergences has its own sets of advantages and disadvantages. HAL was one of the cases. Let's see. I think at 3000 levels thereabout whether HAL forms a bottom or not for itself. Whatever data point I can see and I can analyze in the next few days, I think I'll try and infer this and help you understand whether HL has found a bottom or not. We'll see that in the next few sessions. Okay. Sunil Babu is asking about Hathway cables. Sorry, I don't track that. I'll give it a skip. My analysis on IDFC First Bank chart, I still stand by with the analysis, Alice, which I mentioned on IDFC First Bank, that I strongly believe that the stock is good for a major turnaround. Banking financials is where I would believe that there is a stronger degree of outperformance. So I would still stick by with that view on banking and financials, and including the three names which I mentioned on the YouTube live at that point of time, including IDFC First Bank. Okay, Horvi is asking view on silver. I am not very bullish on the short term charts of silver, because apparently क्या हो रहा है, when you do a price comparison, gold made a higher high, silver actually made a lower high on dollar terms. That's why I would believe that maybe dollar term wise, silver should just about try and fluctuate in a trading range. Not very bullish on silver on the immediate term. But yeah, if you ask me for the next 6 months, 1 year, maybe the prospects for silver could be far more better than what it is right now. Short term wise, as I said, because it's made a lower high, I'm not very much convinced on the immediate breakout prospects for silver chart. Indumati is asking view on SH Kelkar, can be average or exit? I don't see any reason for exit, but yeah, I think you can continue to hold on as of now. Let the markets show some resemblance of stability, because जैसे stability आएगी ना, patterns, better patterns वहाँ पे emerge होंगे. When the markets are stable, you will see stocks, you will see patterns, you will see sector leaderships, you will see stock specific leaderships. So that will help us show signals that which sectors and which stocks you can average out, so that you can maybe get out early into those stocks, or maybe you can look at building portfolios and trying to earn decent returns over the near to medium term. Okay, I did answer Horvi on silver. So Deepak Chavre says, "Sir, your YouTube live keeps us motivated and charged up. It gives us the strength to withstand such a fall. Your analysis is like the software which helps the missile to hit the targets." Thank you so much, Deepak. But it's my uh, part of my, I can say, you can say a job, or it's my uh, the idea is to just reflect the positivity as much as possible to all of you guys, right? Because in these panic times, बहुत बार होता है कि you get swayed away with emotions, you get swayed away with news flow, you get swayed away with a lot of you know uh, the kind of data points which comes to your YouTubes, the memes which comes onto your WhatsApp, etc. But it's very important that in these times hold lot of data points which are more objective in nature rather than subjective, because emotionally though as it is everyone is weak, but I think it's very important to be objectively be very strong. For example, I look at indicators purely in these times, right? In panic times, indicators are the best way. Yes, your strike rate may not be 100%, your strike rates may be 50%, 55% in worst of the panic times, but it is always better to make an objective decision If it gets right, if it gets wrong, you can probably have an objective entry and objective exit. But if you keep everything more sentimental, if you keep everything more subjective, you will enter, but for you, exiting becomes very difficult because then your emotions are more attached to your analysis rather than the objective part to the analysis. Correct? Okay, I think I've answered most of the queries. Just one or two more queries, maybe, with all of you guys. Okay, Indumati is saying that I've been following your views on gold for past 2 years. I've made nearly 50% gains, and Indumati is also inviting me for Europe. So if you come to Europe, I'll give you a treat. I was in Europe last year itself, but let's see. If I do plan for a Europe trip, I'll do message you separately. Okay. Sagar is asking about Zentech. Don't track this chart, Sagar, but not interesting. This is the first major quarter of a sell-off. Last 3 quarters का profit चला गया है. Such kind of stocks, when an entire 2 or 3 quarters of pain starts off, you generally expect that the selling is not over and the stock may fall much lower in the next 3 to 4 quarters. So just looking at the pure quarterly chart for Zentech, not at all attractive. I would suggest that you should just stay away as of now. Okay. Zodiac Clothing, Vivek Mehta, I don't track it, so I'll skip it. I'll just take maybe one more call, one more stock specific query. Before I end the session, I would request everyone that you don't forget, but you do ensure that you like and share the video, right? Because like what we do every time, we come out with new aspects about learning. My idea is that you take a sip of the technical tea, you try and learn from the different aspects and the facets of the markets which I'm showcasing, and then eventually it helps to try and build more objectivity and more stability into your trading framework or your investing framework, whatever you're looking to do. Sabyasachi, he's a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much, Sabyasachi. Asking about HCC. Can I accumulate at present for 18 months? Again, avoid stocks which are very high beta, because my sense is that when the markets bottom out, your large caps will follow first. मिड कैप्स और स्मॉल कैप्स में अभी भी मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि शायद कुछ कुछ स्टॉक्स में अभी भी पेन बाकी है. So don't be in a hurry to try and jump into those mid caps and small caps as of now, unless you are very certain that a fundamental or a valuation wise low has happened into these mid caps and small cap names. So till the time you don't see that happening, wait. Patience is very difficult, but trust me, highly rewarding. Okay. Okay, there are many queries. Manoharan says thank you. Rajashri, I answered your query, Rajashri. Kush Gangar asks about SML Isuzu and Tejas Network. Now, Kush, if you ask me frankly, Tejas Network is something which I don't like as a chart, and somehow the rally which had happened for Tejas Network from 50 rupees to 1,000, 1,400, I somehow feel that the stock has to go into a sharper correction. So purely my view, I can be wrong, but I would probably avoid Tejas Networks completely if you ask me. SML Isuzu, even that stock I think has gone through a sharp correction, but fortunately it's coming back towards a price level support. So I think 1100, 1000 to 1100 is the previous supports for SML Isuzu on the charts. So I think yesterday or day before, if I'm not wrong, the stock was at 1028. Today it's bounced back to 1128, a sharp 10% rally. Indicators are slight oversold for SML Isuzu, but उससे ज़्यादा important है कि जो 1000 का level है ना, वो बहुत strong support हो रहा है stock के लिए. तो maybe I think closer to 1000 mark, if you get maybe one more chance, you can look to add, you can look to buy. Okay. Cool. Okay. Chalo. Thank you so much, guys. Great to connect back again on YouTube Live. I'll try and ensure that I'll take less chuttis and be more consistent with YouTube Lives. but I mean it's a part of process. I also have to manage my work outside, so there are times when I have to travel extensively. I was in Bengaluru just last 4 5 days, and it was fun except for that terrible traffic, but brilliant city. And I think it's been almost like 5 7 years where I visited Bangalore, but it was great fun for me. Had a family visit, and we enjoyed it completely. So I do keep on traveling. My next visit would be in Delhi. I think if I'm not wrong, should be I think in mid of April somewhere, from mid of April, where I'll be probably extensively visiting Delhi. So if you guys, anyone who's from Delhi or visiting Delhi at that point of time, do ensure we can do catch up for a quick cup of coffee also. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye. See you. Take care. Do join us for the next YouTube live. Bye bye. Thank you.